I think lamb is synonymous with Easter lunch, so I thought I would take you to the butcher's with me. We could buy a shoulder of lamb together and come back and cook it. I love Easter, and I love cooking, and I love food, and I love sharing my recipes with you. We are actually going for an Easter picnic with some great friends on Easter Day, so I'll either be cooking my lamb the day before or the day after, but I will be cooking it at some point, but probably won't be on the Sunday. We have a lovely tradition. We go to church and then we go and have an Easter picnic in the woods with our friends, and it's just a really lovely celebration. When the children were tiny, we used to hide eggs for them to go and scamper around and find, and actually there's some slightly younger children this year, so I think my guys will probably go and hide some eggs. But anyway, let's go to the butcher's. So here I am at what I think is the best butcher's in Sussex, and that is my shoulder of lamb that we are going to take home and cook. I'm also going to get some rump steak. So we don't eat meat every day at all, probably 2 or 3 times. I don't know why, my camera just turned itself off, so I don't know where I was, but we eat meat a couple of times a week, and I tend to cook a roast on a Sunday, and then we'll eat the leftovers. So we had roast pork last weekend. Simon's had pork sandwiches. I've added it in with like salad, with jacket potato, lots of different ways. We probably have chicken maybe once a week. I might have chicken breast or chicken thighs, and then we eat lamb, I don't know, maybe once a month. And I would rather I always come to the butcher, and Neil's got me a nice bit of rump there. Enough for 5, please. Because it's the school holidays, we are having steak and chips, which is a treat. So now, we are home. And again, I'm sorry, I seem to be always apologising about background noise, but we've got children here and puppies on the roam. But here is my shoulder of lamb. Now, it's not a particularly big shoulder of lamb. It's actually the only one that the butchers had, because we are a little bit ahead of schedule with Easter. Now, just using a sharp knife, in fact, this one's probably better. No, that one was sharper. My knives need sharpening. I'm just scoring the fat on the top of my shoulder of lamb. Now, I actually haven't put this into the fridge. I've got back, I've put my shopping away, I have faffed around, and that is what I would class as room temperature. You never want to cook meat straight from the fridge. You always want it to warm up a little bit, so that is what I have done. Now I've got a pudding bowl and some olive oil, about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. I'm going to add a teaspoon of ground cinnamon into my olive oil, half a teaspoon of coriander in there, and then I have crushed some garlic, and annoyingly my silicone pastry brush has seen better days, so it's gone. I need to get another one, because actually a silicone pastry brush is a perfect thing for getting the garlic out of here. Right, I'm going to mix those together to form a paste, and we're going to pop this over our lamb. In fact, I'm going to add some more olive oil. And I'm going to pop this over the lamb and then just let it marinate in for about 10 to 15 minutes before we pop it into the oven. And we're just going to rub it in. I'm going to use the back of the spoon. It is important to score the fat, and lamb tends to be very fatty and can be a bit indigestible, but we're going to cook this really slowly, and it will become really delicious and tender, and all that fat will have drained out. Now I have got it in my oven tray on a wire rack, so it's lifted from the bottom of the tray, which is really important. You don't want your joint sitting in the fat. You want the fat to be able to drain out, and then you can pull that off and that is how I find the best way to cook lamb. So look, I've got it on there, in there, and then as the fat comes off, I can get rid of it. So we're going to leave that for 10 minutes before popping it into the roasting oven of the AGA. And we want to cook it hot for the first 30 to 40 minutes in a hot oven. So the equivalent of like 200 degrees Celsius fan oven, and in the center of the oven, I'm just going to use the roasting oven of my AGA in the center. I've made sure that the AGA is nice and hot. Pop this in a blast of heat, and then we're going to reduce the temperature down and slow cook it for like 4 to 5 hours. It doesn't matter. By the time it's done, it's going to be supper time. But if you want to eat this, say for lunch on Easter Day, then you can start it off the night before, give it that quick blast of heat, and then drop the temperature down, pop it in the simmering oven overnight, and then you will have your lamb for lunch, for an early lunch, and it will be, you know, beautiful and really falling apart. Or you can pop it in first thing in the morning and have slightly later lunch, or as we are today, I'm popping it in mid-morning, and then we will have it for supper this evening. So that is my plan. And when you've got your marinade on and it's sat for a little while, add in some crushed sea salt over the top of the lamb, and then some black pepper as well. I love our pepper grinder, so just add that over. Check that your if you're using an AGA, check that your rack is in the right place. I'm going to pop this in for 30 minutes. My meat has been simmering away for the last actually 5 hours, and everybody is in the house, so it really could get quite noisy. I've got a chopping board at the ready, and you can see the bone. So the meat has shrunk as it's been cooking, and the bone has now poked out. Now I'm going to lift this carefully straight onto a board. Now it's really important to let your meat rest before cutting it up, and it's the same as not putting it straight into the fridge, from the fridge straight into the oven and letting it warm a little bit. It's the same thing with resting it. It is much more tender and delicious when you've left your meat to rest. So I'm going to make sure the Labrador's not anywhere near this, because otherwise she will wolf it down. She's so naughty. I'm going to leave this for 10 to 15 minutes. With other cuts of meat, like for example the turkey at Christmas, I let that rest for longer. This actually isn't a particularly big joint. It's about, I think the I nearly called him the vet. I've been at the vet this afternoon with the dogs. The butcher said it was about 3.5 pounds. It's not a very big shoulder, so I'm just going to leave that for about 10 to 15 minutes before we start to prepare it to serve. I've just popped a platter there to warm up on the AGA. I think it's lovely to serve your meat on a warm platter. Florence is being a pain. Florence, come on, you're not going outside. Simon's outside with Lola, so she doesn't get this, and Florence wants to go and join her. So that's what you can hear at the door. It's not somebody knocking, it's just my little dog. But let's talk about other Easter recipes. So I have lots of Easter recipes, and I'm going to leave them linked down below so you can buy my favourite Easter recipes as a bundle. And I also have like a little Easter Masterclass for you. So there's all the recipes with video tutorials and some flower arranging in there, talking about setting your table and things like that. It's like a mini course. So if you would like me to hold your hand through Easter, that is there on hand for you. I'm so sorry about these dogs. Literally, if I lock them in the laundry room, they're going to be at that door. It's just that time of day, and of course they can smell the meat, so they're even more excited. But if you would like me to hold your hand through preparing all the food and flowers and you know, getting everything to look beautiful, then that is available for you. So remember that. And I am going to be serving this with a lovely salad and also some new potatoes. The new potatoes are ready. So some herby roasted new potatoes. I just find this such an easy way to do potatoes, and that with a lovely salad and a yogurty dressing, absolutely delicious with our lamb. And I am feeling hungry just talking about it. I've roped in my husband to help because he is far better at this kind of stuff than I am. So, darling, what are we doing with it?
Well, we're going to see if,
we're going to see if I've cooked it properly.
So shoulder is always going to be fatty, shoulder of pork, shoulder of lamb. But with lamb, you can do this lovely sort of slow cook. And the idea is that it should almost sort of fall away. You get that sort of crispy bit, which actually I rather like, but there we are, put that there.
You get the best bits, don't you? Because you're
get the best
carving.
bits. And you know, you're not going to carve this like a leg of lamb. This is going to be almost sort of like a pulled lamb, but the idea is.
Have I cooked it okay?
I think it looks good. I think it looks good, and the idea is
really good.
I think the idea is that you're gonna all that fat within the shoulder, or at least a percentage of it, you do get bits like that.
Fat out.
Is going to have drained off into the cooking utensil. I didn't think of the word there for a minute.
Yeah, so hang on, let me show you that.
Bit of dementia setting in here probably.
So that is the fat. Can you see? And I'm going to let that totally congeal. That's the right word, isn't it? Congeal.
Yep.
I'm going to let that totally congeal, and then I shall scrape it out and put it in the bin. With the beef fat, I keep that and I use that when I cook potatoes and things like that. But
can't really use lamb fat.
You can't use lamb
fat.
No.
And lamb is, you know, again, one of those things where actually beef works really well cold, and even beef fat, you know, if you've got rare roast beef with a little bit of fat on it, actually tastes quite nice. But lamb fat never works.
No,
but I think that's really good. There you are. You know, the bulk of that fat, I've just taken a little bit off there, but the bulk of it has actually been cooked out. It's dripped through, and you're left with this really lovely, really sort of delicious, and actually probably more flavour than leg.
Yeah, I think it definitely has more flavour.
How long did you cook it for?
Well, it's now 6:10, and what time did you leave for our tennis?
Midday.
You left at midday, so I put it in before you left. I put it in at 11:30.
Probably about 6 hours. Something.
It had half an hour in the roasting oven, and then I've let it rest. So yeah, sort of 5.5 hours.
And you can't really, you'll struggle to overcook this too much. You know, you could probably still.
You can dry it out, and actually that's one of the reasons why I put the tin foil on, is to keep some moisture in it, so it's not dry. Because you don't want it to be dry, but you want it to be beautifully slow cooked and still tender and succulent.
Yeah, and you can also.
Are those the right words?
Yeah, and also with this, you can use lots of different herbs. You can use herbs like rosemary, which is the obvious one to go for with lamb. But you could put sage in, you could put marjoram, oregano. I think you've got some coriander in this.
Yeah.
So kind of whatever you're feeling like, whatever sort of, taste you really enjoy, you can gear it up to a slow cook like this.
Yeah, you can. Darling, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm now going to get stuck into it.
You're going to get stuck in. We're going to sit down and enjoy it. But remember that my other Easter recipes are linked down below if you would like them. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you, darling, for helping. And I will see you very soon.